Love across the seasons. The first time Daniel saw Sophie, it was autumn. The air carried the crisp scent of fallen leaves, and the park was bathed in hues of amber and gold. She was sitting on a wooden bench, sketchbook in hand, completely lost in her art. A gentle breeze played with the strands of her auburn hair, and the sight of her, so serene and beautiful, made Daniel's breath catch in his throat. He wasn't the kind of man to believe in love at first sight, but something about Sophie made him want to believe. He hesitated, unsure whether to approach her, but then fate intervened. A gust of wind sent one of her drawings flying toward him. Instinctively, he caught it, a delicate sketch of an old couple sitting under a tree, holding hands. "This is beautiful," he murmured, admiring the details before looking up to find her watching him. She smiled, slightly embarrassed. "Thank you. I didn't mean for it to fly away." "Maybe it was meant to," he said, handing it back to her. "I'm Daniel, by the way." "Sophie." She tucked the sketch back into her book. "Nice to meet you, Daniel." That was how it all started. Winter arrived with its icy embrace, but instead of pushing them apart, the cold drew them closer. They spent endless evenings wrapped in scarves and gloves, strolling through the snow-covered city streets. Daniel loved the way Sophie's eyes lit up at the sight of twinkling fairy lights. She would always stop to admire the festive window displays, her fingers tracing invisible patterns in the frosty air. One evening, they found themselves in a quiet cafe, sharing a cup of hot chocolate. The fire crackled beside them, casting warm shadows on her face. "Tell me something no one else knows about you," she said, resting her chin on her hand. Daniel thought for a moment before responding. "I used to believe in magic as a kid. I was convinced that if I wished hard enough, anything could happen." She chuckled. "And now?" "Now." He glanced at her, a soft smile forming. "Now I think some kinds of magic are real." She tilted her head. "Like what?" "Like the way a person can walk into your life unexpectedly and change everything." Sophie's laughter was quiet but full of meaning. She reached across the table and took his hand. "I think I believe in that kind of magic, too." Spring arrived with its promise of new beginnings. The world blossomed in vibrant colors, mirroring the growing depth of their love. They spent weekends exploring hidden gardens, taking photographs of cherry blossoms, and lying in the grass, watching the clouds drift by. "What do you see?" Sophie asked one afternoon, pointing at a particularly fluffy cloud. Daniel squinted. "A cat." "Definitely a cat." She giggled. "That is not a cat. It's clearly a dragon." "A very fluffy dragon, then." She laughed, and the sound was music to his ears. He turned to her, suddenly serious. "Sophie, do you ever think about the future?" She sighed, plucking a petal from a nearby flower. "Sometimes. But I like the present too much to get lost in the what-ifs." Daniel nodded, but in his heart, he knew. He wanted a future with her. Then came summer, the season of long nights and whispered dreams. They danced under the stars, ran barefoot on the beach, and shared stolen kisses under moonlit skies. Life felt endless, like a never-ending song they never wanted to stop playing. One evening, as they sat by the ocean, watching the waves roll in and out, Daniel took a deep breath. "Sophie, She held up a hand, stopping him. "Don't say it yet," she whispered. "Not here, not now." He frowned. "Why not?" She turned to him, her expression unreadable. "Because some moments are too perfect to be changed by words. Let's just exist in this one." He respected that, though his heart ached to tell her how much he loved her. But just as seasons change, so did they. Autumn came again, bringing with it an unexpected storm, not of weather, but of life. Sophie's father fell ill, and she had to leave the city to take care of him. Their days became filled with missed calls, unanswered texts, and the aching silence of distance. Daniel tried to be patient. He tried to understand. But love, no matter how strong, is never immune to the weight of reality. One day, she called him. Her voice was soft, hesitant. "Daniel, I don't know when I'll be back. I don't know if I can keep this going." His chest tightened. "Sophie, don't do this. We can figure it out." She sniffled. "I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hold you back." "You're not holding me back. You're the only thing that keeps me moving forward." But she had made up her mind. "I love you, Daniel. But sometimes, love isn't enough." And just like that, she was gone. The seasons passed in a blur. Winter felt colder without her. Spring lost its charm. Summer was just another series of empty nights. And then, a year later, autumn arrived again. Daniel found himself in the same park where they first met. The same bench. The same crisp scent of fallen leaves. He closed his eyes, letting the memories wash over him. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" His eyes snapped open. And there she was. Sophie. She looked different, tired, perhaps a little older, but still the most beautiful person he had ever seen. Sophie. Her name was a whisper, a prayer. She sat beside him, clutching a familiar sketchbook. "I wanted to come back sooner," she admitted. "But I was scared." "Scared of what?" She exhaled. "That you had moved on. That I had lost you forever." He shook his head, a sad smile forming. "You never lost me, Sophie." She opened her sketchbook and pulled out a drawing, a simple one, of a couple sitting on a bench, holding hands under an autumn sky. "Do you still believe in magic?" she asked softly. He reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. "I do. And I think some magic is worth waiting for." And this time, he didn't wait. He leaned in, pressing his lips to hers, sealing a promise that no season could ever break. Moral of the story: love, like the seasons, may change and fade, but if it's true, it always finds a way back.